Hey. I don't have a very like formal introduction for these.
That's
So,
okay.
I mean, we can just.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect, so I'm
Okay.
just gonna wing it.
Okay. Well, I was thinking, first of all, I just want to say thank you for coming and
Yeah.
doing this.
Sure.
I've been looking forward to it a lot. So, how have you been?
Good.
Good.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you were going to be up for it or not. So I was a little like, I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect, so
Yeah.
I've never done anything like this.
Yeah.
We'll just
Go
with
the
it.
flow. Yeah. So how's work?
It's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't, sometimes I'll talk to the camera, but
That's fine.
usually I just talk like to the guest too.
Yeah, sure.
So, but I do want to like kind of speak as if I don't already know some of the things about you.
Yeah,
just so
yeah,
people
totally
can like
fine.
understand what
Yeah.
you do and stuff.
Totally
But,
fine.
So you work for GE.
Yes, I work
Aviation.
for GE Aviation.
Okay. And what do you do there?
I am a human resources business partner.
Okay. Human resources business partner.
Yes.
So can you explain a little bit what that means?
Yeah. So it means different things depending on the part of the organization that you support.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, it's a role where I provide HR support, but I also am acting as a business consultant, and I help provide guidance, perspective, context, and potentially recommendations based off of decisions that we're making across the global organization for the group that I support. To make sure that we're setting up our organization to generate revenue, eliminate, unnecessary cost or waste, promote employee well-being, prosper culture, those types of things. And then specifically for my organization, I support the digital technology community. So like IT, software development, data and analytics, technical product management, for the most part. And I have a global population of about 500 or so people that I support.
Wow. So you have your hands full.
Yes. No, it is typically not a dull moment.
Yeah. How busy do they keep you generally?
I guess it depends on your definition of busy.
Mm-hmm. So like, I mean, are you working like 8-hour shifts usually, or I mean, it's not really a shift, I guess, because
it's so non-exempt employees and hourly employees typically are on like a shift structure. Once you go into the exempt side, which is where you typically get an annualized salary, there's really no such thing as shifts. And I would argue that in contemporary business culture, today, there's a fluidity between work and personal life. Historically, there was a divide between work life shuts off, personal life starts. And within the past, I would say decade, maybe plus 5 years or so, there's been a much stronger presence of you combine the two together. So I work, I don't count my hours, but if I've been at GE for 10 years and I don't think I've ever worked an 8-hour day. I always have worked between 10 and 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
15 it's not sustainable long term, but cyclical elements of the world sometimes require you to.
Yes.
On average, I'd say it's probably 10 to 11 hour days.
Okay. Still more than average for shift-wise, I guess. I guess it depends on who you're talking about.
I think it's pretty average for a general GE employee, but yeah.
Really? Okay. Do you feel like you're talking about that like shift in the like fluidity between work life and personal life? Do you feel like that's more like to be said for someone in like a role that you're in, or not necessarily like a wage, like hourly employee though?
Yeah, I totally agree.
They still have that, right? But,
yes, correct. And honestly, the biggest indicator as to why there's a difference is frankly technology. Typically an hourly or a non-exempt role, the way that their jobs are structured is that they are based off of something that is tangibly at the place of employment. And so when they leave, they don't take that work with them. Like a manufacturing job would be a great example. You can't take that work home, and that's called theft if you do. Whereas all of my work is done through conversations with humans, or it's through my computer. And because I have, and everyone for the most part in an exempt capacity has a laptop, I think it's just evolved to the point where people bring their work home with them, and it's very normal.
It's easier to do nowadays.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and frankly, it's a blessing because I don't know how much you read about the shift in values that the future generations are going to be bringing into the workforce. But there is a stronger and stronger appetite for flexibility. Not necessarily flexibility. I mean, maybe, but not necessarily flexibility in the sense of I want to not come to work, on this day. But it's flexibility in the sense of I want to be able to do my work from wherever, and it should be, regardless of whether the rest of my team is in this particular location and I'm in a different location. And so I think that we'll only continue to see that type of experience happen as the next generation comes up into the workforce.
So you think the upcoming generations are going to provide or are looked at as providing more value in that way than previous generations because they're like already in tune with that technology, not like the previous ones have been?
No, I don't think that I don't think it would be fair to say that one generation's adding more or less value than the other. But there's just different values. So there's a lot of futurists, generation futurists, that are predicting and analyzing the different value propositions that different generations have provided to the workforce. And so for the Gen Zs that are coming up, they don't really totally know what their value propositions are going to be because they're honestly still forming. Some have not been born yet, but once they do get into the workforce, they do anticipate that flexibility is going to be something that's really important. They anticipate that privacy is going to be really important because of how much social media is and just AI capability is predicting their thoughts. So they anticipate that privacy will be important.
Like, what can you expand on that a little bit? Like, what do you mean by privacy will be important? Like, they're gonna try to create services to make more privacy, or?
So again, these are futurists that are predicting certain things to happen or not happen, and so they're just predictions, and they don't totally know what to expect yet because some people haven't been born yet to fill out the generation. But they are, and it's not privacy in terms of systems or structures. It's privacy personally. So because of regulations like GDPR that really started in European countries around privacy standards for personal data. And that's why you see when you scroll on any type of internet site where it has that acknowledgement, that's because of personal data privacy legislation that is, going out across the world. And that will only become more so as different businesses get more savvy with anticipating and predicting people's desires, needs, or appetites for product to make money. And so because of that, they anticipate that as an individual human being, I'm going to want to restrict what people or companies know or don't know about me. And that's more what they're anticipating that privacy to mean. The other thing that they anticipate is that there will be much more global awareness and appreciation from the future or, next generation, because they have been totally immersed and grown up in a society that is very globally aware and inclusive. And they anticipate, maybe to just expand on that it will be the most inclusive generation yet that we've seen. And they've seen that happen in progressive, states as the next generation comes into play. But they anticipate that it'll be a much more inclusive workforce than historically. And that's primarily because we are a more global and globally aware population.
Yeah, because of the introduction of social media and technology kind of making it more possible to be connected around the world.
Yes, and also the fact that there's been a lot that has taken place in terms of equality and inclusivity into not only legislation but workforce practices. Frankly, a lot of the social movements that have been happening. And so, all of those things ultimately stem to people. And frankly, we grow up nowadays and in future generations with a much more diverse population than ever before. And that also breeds inclusivity.
Do you think that's a good thing?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That is a good segue to, I asked Mom if she had anything that she wanted me to ask you about. She wanted me to ask you what you thought about the metoo movement.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's relatively straightforward for my opinion. So just to give a bit of maybe like a story to add on before I kind of share my perspective. When metoo, because metoo, I believe, and I could look it up, a lot of people have a preconceived notion that metoo started during like the Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby,
Harvey Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, debacles.
Right, but that's kind of just where it got more attention.
I think it was actually 2015 when Me Too initiated, maybe 2016, but it's been a movement for years.
When did the Harvey Weinstein thing happen? That was a couple
2017,
years ago?
I believe.
Okay.
Sometime around then is when all of the things started happening.
Yeah.
So when that happened, GE made a public, not public, that's a dramatic statement. There was an intentional purpose play for my company to lean into that, just sexual harassment in general, to educate. You would think that we had done something beforehand, to really like have sexual harassment training be a part of a regular rhythm, but we really had historically only done it on one-off basis. And when all of that started happening, we introduced overarching sexual harassment training globally, just to reinforce, to say, we don't tolerate this kind of behavior, etc. And I was one of those individuals that did training globally for my client group at the time. And as a result of that, did research to equip myself with, what it is that I needed to feel I wanted to share and provide context to. So, I mean, I am a huge advocate for Me Too. I personally think that it has offered a voice for a lot of women or men that have had experiences within the workforce that have impacted their identity. And I am really proud of the fact that this is a huge part of our society and our culture. And I actually am amazed at how Me Too ultimately stemmed at least, just from the research that I've done, like 7 different country standalone Me Too movements that are country specific. Like Australia has one, Egypt has one, India has one, England has one, Ireland has a big one, France. Like there's so many different countries that followed suit based off of the United States really being a bit more public and open with Me Too. And I totally understand that there's a stigma, but we wouldn't have had a Me Too movement if there wasn't truly a systemic issue.
A reason to have
it
one,
doesn't just poof into air. So yeah, that's, I would say I'm definitely pro Me Too personally.
So that's interesting. You said that you were like doing some of the global training, if you will, for that movement, like just to reinforce the ideals that were kind of inspired by that.
Treating people equally and not disrespectfully and, with respect.
Did you, I remember you talking about doing like seminars, and I think you went to like Germany and did one or something.
Yes.
And then
a training.
A couple other places. But was that related to you teaching that, or was that something else?
Yeah, that's a specific operations course.
Okay. I'm going to check this camera real quick.
Yeah. Sure thing.
So, first podcast experience.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Not too bad. Yeah, I'm still getting used to it. It's kind of.
I'm used to talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this.
You're good at it.
So this is like doing a work thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, I'm excited to post this episode. See if anybody has some interesting comments about what you're talking about. So, did you feel like when growing up, did you feel like you just had to work really hard to get to where you're at now, as far as like studying and staying busy? Because I know when we were kids, like you were working at Bob Evans and P.F. Chang's, and you just were always keeping a job and then studying really hard to get through, or to get to college and then like through college.
Yeah.
And I guess, are you still doing your master's too, or did you finish that?
No, I've never.
Oh, you're not going to do that? I think
no.
Were you thinking about doing that?
I still noodle on it. But because I research this kind of stuff a lot for my job. There's a lot of studies and indications of whether there's going to be a shift in the need for a master's and actually even a bachelor's degree to do, I would say, traditionally bachelor's degree mandated roles. And so part of me wonders, if I can still be very successful in the absence of having a master's, do I really want to spend $50,000 on something?
Plus all the time.
That is not necessary. And would I rather save that money for my future children's education needs?
You have a bachelor's currently? That's okay.
Yeah. And that's where I've been recently. But I also am somebody who has and this is going to sound corporate-y, but it's truth. I would describe myself as having a growth mindset. And so what I mean when I say that is maybe I do decide to go get my master's at some point in time. I would probably get an MBA, but I don't feel a necessity or an urge to do that right now. And maybe I do eventually.
Yeah,
but
doors always
not
open.
right now. Yeah. I
thought about going back to college. I remember talking to you about going to school for business maybe
at
some point.
I remember.
And obviously I didn't, but it's kind of related. I don't feel like I really needed to.
Yeah.
You can just learn in the real world.
For sure. Just
practice trial and error.
That's becoming, I think, the newer trend.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, even with like the degree that I did get with film, I've met a few people. One guy's done my podcast, and I met him at Best Buy, and he was thinking about going to Ohio Media School or like Cincinnati State for video. And I was teaching at Ohio Media School at the time that I met him, and I actually told him I didn't think that he should go because it was like, I think it was $16,000 or something,
Yeah.
and you can just practice and watch YouTube videos and teach yourself. So save
Yeah.
the money and maybe invest in equipment rather than
Exactly.
putting it into a school. But yeah, so to get back to my original question, I was
Sure.
asking about, so like your work ethic through high school
Oh,
and,
yes.
and college, that kind of like shaped your ability to become the woman that you are today, right? So
A lot of it. And I would say that was intrinsic. Like it's not like I woke up one day and said, I'm going to work hard from here on forth.
yeah,
It just is how I
Just
was
what you wanted to do.
brought into the universe. And
Do you, when you sorry to cut you
Yeah,
off, but
yeah.
when you say that, do you sort of mean like how dad and or mom were like raising us
No.
to have those ethics? Like
No,
work
I
ethics,
don't.
or no?
no, I think it is a part of my DNA. I think partially, there's been some research. I feel like I'm using that word a lot, but that's what I mean. There's been research on the fact that values and traits of like personality traits, but also values can be passed on genetically. And so I think some of it certainly is that. So yes, my mom and my dad played a potential role. And it's very hard to quantify or even to deduce that because you can't look in
It's not tangible.
No,
Yeah.
a value is very intangible. But there's been some indications that there are multi-decade passings on of values in lineage. And so I think some of it certainly is that. I think some of it is that, it just, when you have a kid, you don't know how what they're going to be like. They have different personalities. And I think that is just who I am. I didn't decide. It's not like I decided to be the person I am. I can hone in and evolve certain characteristics of myself.
Focus on certain things you
For
want to do or
sure.
accomplish.
I can evolve, an element of how I, present myself and how I invest in people, etc. But at my core, my personality doesn't really change. No one's does. Because that's your core.
Just inherently you.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of it really honestly is that. And I think, so some of it is this is just who I am. But there's another part of it, which is, I really am a huge believer that everything happens for a reason. And I also believe that when you're in the right place at the right time with the right people, there's an element. I don't know if you've ever read Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers.
I haven't. I think
But
I've heard you talk about it before.
It's a really interesting book, and it talks about luck and the role that luck, as well as just being in the right place at the right time, impacts.
You saying that reminded me of like one of my favorite quotes, which is luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
I say that all the time. I said that in one of the previous
I think
podcasts.
it's a reality.
Yeah.
And so I think some of it really honestly is I chose to take the right step at the right time. And because of my ability at that moment, I was given an opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think you spend a lot of time like preparing yourself, and then eventually, if you hadn't spent that time preparing yourself, say an opportunity did come along, you maybe would not have been ready for it, or even would never even have gotten the opportunity in the first place because you didn't prepare for it. So yeah, and then you get lucky.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what you're saying, and that's what they say in that book, though, Outliers.
Yeah, I mean it's been a while since I've read it, but basically it talks a lot about hockey, hockey players and the Beatles and musicians, and how certain generations or periods of time are set people up to be famous, and it's not really anything to do with their innate, superior ability, because it's not
it's just
that.
like the culture.
The society was ready for an evolutionary moment because of XYZ reasons, and you know, they were in the right place at the right time. And with hockey players, the big focus, and I think they talked maybe about baseball players as well. But with hockey players, that the advantage was if you sent your kid to school when they were the oldest in their grade versus the youngest, they were naturally at an advantage because they had an entire year of growth and all the things that happen with that growth and development as opposed to their younger counterparts. So they were stronger, they were more, adept, they were more developed, etc. And that then sets them up for success. To be more competitive, more confident,
they kind
whatever.
of become like the alpha, I guess you could say, like in
Sure,
the grade,
yeah.
you know, because they have that advantage of being
Exactly.
older, developed more, competing with people who are
younger, less developed, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it was a very interesting book. But
it sounds good.
Yeah.
Do you have any? We don't have to talk about this if you don't want to, but I always like to ask people if they've heard of Andrew Yang.
I've not heard
He's
of
a
Andrew
Democratic candidate for president.
I am the worst at politics because I just
don't care.
Yes, and you know, I went through a period where I wanted to care, but then I also read a book called The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin, which was really a wonderful book. It's a true story. It's I guess you could probably describe it as an autobiography, or I don't know the right term, but ultimately she had a very successful life. She had everything that you would epitomize as a really happy, fulfilled life and family, etc. But she wasn't happy. And so she went on this 12-month happiness project that she internally did. And it was a really interesting read. I believe it was like a New York Times bestseller when it came out a while ago. And as a part of one of the chapters, she talked about how a lot of times she would do things because she felt like she needed to do it. And she made a list of the things that she felt that she needed to do and a list of things that she really genuinely liked. And she tried a bunch of stuff and committed to herself, I'm going to try these things that I've always been talking about, I really want to do. And if it does not bring me joy in, I forget the timestamp, it was like 2 weeks or something like that. If it does not bring me joy in this 2-week commitment, I'm going to let it go and I'm not going to worry about it anymore. And that was a good aha for me because I felt that way about politics. I felt like I was supposed to like it or be engaged and care. And I really don't care at all. Yeah. And so I just decided it doesn't bring me any form of joy. I'm going to not care about it. And so I'm very disengaged because it doesn't bring me joy.
Yeah. No, I have kind of gone through some phases with it where I'm watching a lot of videos right and left, just trying to educate myself. And then I get just totally exhausted by it. And I'm like, I don't even care. And I can't keep up with this. And it's just a bunch of nonsense half the time. So, but I kind of like Andrew Yang. That's why I asked. Because he's got a few interesting things that he wants to do. But his main thing is universal basic income, sort of. It's called. Okay. So he wants to give I don't know how feasible this really is, but this is one of his running points that's getting him a lot of attention is he's calling it the freedom dividend. And basically every adult, so anyone over the age of 18 would get $1,000 a month, and it would replace welfare. So if you're already on welfare or some sort of welfare program, then you wouldn't get that on top of that. It would, if you get $700 a month from welfare, you'd get $300 from the freedom dividend. But basically his logic behind that is that mostly that there's these huge corporations like Amazon and companies like that who I guess don't pay taxes. Is his have you heard of that?
I mean,
I don't know how true that is.
Like I said, I don't pay attention to a lot of that kind of conspiracy, but
yeah, I mean, they say that Amazon paid like zero in taxes, which I don't know how that's even possible. But
I mean, I'm sure it's not, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't really heard anything to disprove that either, though. That's what surprises me, because I'm not like saying, oh, it's 100% fact. I really don't know, but he's basically saying that, like, as an American citizen, you're sort of like a stockholder in the country. So because of like the fruits of the labor of the country that you like participate in and grow the economy in, that you deserve a dividend, sort of like the stock market when you buy a stock and you get a dividend.
Sure.
So that's his logic behind it. I would just like $1,000 a month for free. So I'm like, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But it could cause inflation and all kinds of terrible things.
Yeah, I personally think that's a terrible idea.
Really?
I also think it's incredibly entitlement oriented.
Yeah, I mean,
and that
totally
is
could see how
super
that's-
disenchanting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to hear him explain it to. I'm probably not doing him justice.
no, sure.
But
Yeah,
like,
I get it.
I'm just kind of curious about it. I don't necessarily think that it would be a good thing because on paper it sounds like, oh sweet, $12,000 a year for free. But also like, where's the money come from? And he
Nothing's
was saying,
ever free.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've kind of like researched it a little bit, and he's said that they would take like a very small percentage of all the like trading in the market to put towards that. Plus, I forget what else, but I don't know how realistic any of that would ever actually be, but it's an interesting concept.
It is an interesting concept.
I think they also say that because of the development of AI and how that's going to take a lot of jobs from people,
Sure.
that some people are going to be like, you know, trained to do like semi-truck driving, for instance,
right?
And then all that's going to be autonomous, and all those people are going to be put out of work eventually. So
well, but that I mean, hypothetically, if that happens, then it'll happen incredibly slowly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you'd think so.
I mean, and frankly, I mean, that's how jobs have evolved over time.
Right, yeah, and it's like
people
you
used
just
to be
retrain.
in chairs plugging, you know, cords in for people to talk on a phone, and we don't complain that we don't have
that anymore.
I forget what they're called.
I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, I maybe it's just a telephone operator.
Something. Yeah, I think it might be.
But yeah, I mean, we don't need them anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And
jobs have historically been
just
replaced
evolved.
like that. Yeah.
Just I wouldn't even say replaced. I would say they evolve.
Yeah.
You know, now we need a different skill set. It's the same. That process is still happening, but it's a different skill set to maintain the process.
Yeah. I guess on the flip side, it's like, looking at it from your point of view, it's kind of like catering to people like who've been doing something their whole life and don't want to learn to do something new, when they just need to like adapt to the market or the economy changing or whatever that industry.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, human beings are I mean, it's called evolution for a reason, you know. The whole process of living things or the universe is evolutionary always. And because humans are creatures of habit by nature, we get sedimentary in that cycle to say, no, I've decided I'm going to not.
Sedentary?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, sorry. I'm like Dad. I always try to like do that. That's right. Sorry.
Okay.
Never mind.
But yeah, I think, you know, that certainly is the case.
Yeah. Yeah, he talks a lot about people getting like displaced by AI over time, which I'm sure will happen, but I'm sure there'll also be like tons of jobs that are created because of that too.
Oh, sure.
So there'll be available jobs just in different areas.
Yeah, for sure.
So do you do a lot of like investing and stuff like that?
I mean, I have investments, but I have a financial advisor that does that stuff for me.
So you don't really like have to think about it. You just
I don't have time to have my own life, let alone make decisions like that.
Yeah.
So I have outsourced that part of my life.
Okay. You travel a lot?
I do.
You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Sure. What would you like to know?
What is your favorite place that you've traveled so far?
I mean, it's a really hard. It's hard because I don't like favorites of anything because there's so many experiences. So I can't say that I have a favorite place because I value a lot of different things about a lot of different places. But one of the most memorable experiences that I have had was when I went to Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, the country. I know that sounds
okay.
ridiculous,
Sorry. Yeah,
but when you ask that question, most people say, What did you go to Atlanta? And I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's what I
nope,
thought you
I
meant the
mean the
state.
country.
Yeah.
And it was just a very raw, natural beauty that I would say I didn't realize was even in the world. It was a really spiritually connecting experience. It was a really great way to just truly feel like I was connected with nature through being immersed in the mountains. And it was a really wonderful cultural immersion experience too. So, yeah, it was very scary, I would say, for my own self to go to a country that I was not sure was going to speak a lot of English.
Did you go by yourself?
I did. I also was not, because it's still a part of Europe, but it's very close to the Middle East. There's a sea, I believe it's the Caspian Sea, that divides. I was not sure if I was going to be super accepted.
Why? Because you're white and American and a
Yes.
woman?
Yes. All of those
All the
reasons.
above.
All of those
Keep talking, I'm
reasons.
just gonna check this.
Yeah, sure thing. But I think for me, it was, I mean, I did a lot of research in advance, and there was a lot of positive feedback on visiting Georgia, and so I decided to do so, and I have zero regrets. So
You said it was really like spiritually good for you. How so? Like just the vibe.
yeah, I mean, it's a kind of a personal story, so I probably won't share it publicly to strangers.
Okay.
But I would say, in general, a reflection or an aha moment that I've had within the past, I would say 2 years, is that I feel very connected to nature in a way that I perhaps did not realize for the majority of my life. I get a lot of just soul-filling experiences being in nature, and so it was just a wonderful way to connect with my own self, with the universe, with my faith through that experience. So it was great.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be really refreshing, especially for someone as busy as you, with work and just doing that so often, that taking those retreats basically to just go out and be like in like a beautiful forest or see like the mountains,
it's really
or
nice.
things like that would be awesome.
Yeah.
The few times that I've been on like road trips and traveled like that, it's always it just feels so fulfilling. I love doing that stuff. I need to get back to that actually. I've been thinking about that a lot, wanting to do that more.
Yeah, I made a very intentional decision to prioritize things that were going to bring me a lot of just like intrinsic joy. And I was going to deprioritize the things that did not.
Yeah.
And
That's kind of where I'm
travel was one of those things.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Like I spend a lot of time just like grinding and working and try to build a business and get the house done and stuff like that, which is all really important to do.
Yeah.
But once it's at a certain point where it's like sustainable and it's not like a struggle to keep it afloat, which is kind of where I'm at now, I feel like I need to like refulfill or refresh or find some meaning elsewhere, which is like kind of what you were talking about earlier with that happiness book.
Yeah.
Was how she would like try things out that she always thinks about doing.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I'm trying to do now, like with the podcast and my YouTube channel and music, and like I'm going to Colorado at the end of the year for like a snowboard trip, which I'm really excited about.
That's exciting.
And yeah, I feel like I just stopped doing stuff like that for a long time, just to like work on the business, but it just felt a little like soul killing because I was like neglecting the other things. So
yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a lot on your plate. So
yes.
Do you have a long-term plan as far as like, I mean, do you want to like semi-retire at a certain age and start a family or anything like that, or is that not really on your mind? Or
Well, I will play devil's advocate and say that in order for me to start a family, I do not need to semi-retire, regardless of gender. So, I mean, I would look at your questions as two separate ones. Do I plan on semi-retiring? No, but I mean, that's so far in advance that I don't know what's going to happen 40 years from now.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, I'm sure that I will have reflected at that point to make a decision. I do think that in general, I really value my work, my career, the element of my identity that is driven or derived from my career. So I don't anticipate myself ever not working, but my work might change as I get older. And my shift of focus and priority might change as I get older or as life priorities change. And that's all so unpredictable because, who knows? I could have a kid that needs more attention and investment. There could be a sickness involved. Things happen, right?
You never know.
And you don't know. So, but I think I will probably always have a commitment to work, whatever work means for me at that point.
Yeah, because it gives you purpose and meaning.
Yeah.
Keeps you busy.
And I'm a very purpose-driven person in general. So it gives me a lot of gratitude, happiness, and joy just to have purpose.
Yeah.
And I think the other question that you were asking was around just family. I certainly plan on having a family. But obviously...
find the right guy first.
There's not necessarily,
I guess,
but I think I mean that would be the ideal case.
Yeah.
I don't look forward to starting a family on my own. Right. But I am definitely resolved that if that were to be the case, I care too much to be a mother to not have kids, whether it's with somebody or not. And I definitely do plan on having kids. And I have no doubt that when that day comes, shuffling and balancing of priorities or depriorities will certainly come into consideration, probably multiple times
because it's bound to happen.
Because life priorities shift. So yeah.
Is there like an ideal type of guy that you have in mind, like that you want to meet?
No. I mean, I think that for me, it matters more their value system. I think when you think about long-term, sustainable, committed, really soul-filling relationships, it ultimately boils down to, are your value systems aligned? First and foremost, do you in general have the same priorities? And do you at all times, I would argue, in your relationship have a mutual respect, trust, and commitment to each other? And that could be the way that you treat each other. It could be, the way that you find time to bond or build connection through life chaos, etc. But I think I care much more about those things than I do, like, I need them to look this
like
certain
a body
way.
Type or a look or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, those things matter, to a certain extent too, but those are not what drive a sustainable, viable, long-term committed relationship. The other things are. So I would say that's what I look for more than anything else.
Mom told me something really interesting, I thought, the other day that I'd never heard before. She said that you had mentioned, at least to her at some point, that you might like adopt or something. Right?
I was thinking about, so I think what she was referencing is fostering.
Yeah, that's what she said.
But you can foster to adopt too.
What's the difference?
Between fostering and adoption?
Let me take a guess. Yeah, that's what I was asking. But because I had a friend in high school and her family fostered kids, I think.
Sure.
And so basically, if it's what I'm thinking it is, they would have like a kid or multiple kids at their house living with them for a certain period of time, and then eventually they would leave and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But so they weren't like a permanent part of their family, I guess.
Yes.
Even though they probably would say that they are like a part of their family, probably forever, maybe. But like,
I don't know about that.
But they're not. Yeah, they're not like. It's not the same as adopting somebody and then it's like your son or your daughter, but they might treat them like family and like keep their arms wide open for them kind of thing.
Yeah. So yes, in general, you have to, the same way for adoption as foster parents, you have to go through a state mandated course, I'll call it, or certification process to be validated and approved as a foster parent or as an adoptive parent, whatever. Both go through a process. My guess, I have not gone through either of the processes, but my guess would be the process to become an adoptive parent is a bit more time consuming and potentially rigorous than foster. But I'm making a guess there. I think there's, in terms of fostering, it's a good, I personally have always felt a calling to invest in somebody that was not my own. Whether that becomes something real one day or not, who knows? But even from a very early age, I felt called to have a kid that was not my own.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's surprising because I've like never known that about you my whole life till just like a week or two ago when Mom mentioned it. And I was like, really? But I'm not surprised. Like I could see you doing that.
Yeah.
I don't think you. I think you would do that well. I just was surprised because I never heard that before.
But I think and I actually have a good friend that's going through the foster process right now. Her foster baby shower is actually tomorrow. So
are they getting like a newborn?
They are not. They are asking for up to 2 kids that are the ages of 5 to 12.
Okay.
So I think ultimately I feel ready to have kids, but ready and is this the right time to do it are two different things. And yeah, honestly, I am eager to see my good friend go through this process just to get her perspective. And she's going through it with her husband. But I think it's a really grace-giving experience. I think it is really tough.
Oh, yeah.
I think that there's a lot of emotion tied in it. And you also don't always know what you're getting and the trauma potentially that child has faced. And I think that makes it really hard at times.
But probably also really rewarding, I would think.
Yeah, I think it depends on the situation, I think, and what stage you get that child and how much of their life they've gone through. And potentially, are they going to be taken from you and go someplace else?
Well, they are. Ultimately, they are, right? Because isn't that how foster families work?
Sometimes you foster to adopt.
Oh, really?
And most of those situations are based off of whether the biological parent is accepting of that.
Like, oh, okay. But the biological parent might not want them back, but they just might not want them to be with that foster family or something?
I'm not an expert by any means, but I would guess that's probably not the case. I would guess that in situations where there is foster to adopt, it is a very selfless decision, hopefully, off of the biological parents, because they know that child or those children are going to get a better life with somebody else than them. But I also think that sometimes it probably is selfish decisions, and that parent, that biological parent, is not thinking about anyone but themselves.
Yeah, they're not doing it for the kid. They want
they want freedom. Maybe they have an addiction. I'm sure there's many reasons.
Yeah.
Why they would be okay, going through the foster to adopt process for their biological kid. But I think it just depends.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, that'd be interesting. So your friend, it said up to 2 kids. So
Mm-hmm.
is that like, I guess they wouldn't necessarily have to be, the kids could be totally different families.
Their particular circumstance, they are only going to accept up to 2 kids if it is a sibling set.
Oh, really? Okay.
So so that the siblings don't have to be separated.
Do those kids come from, I guess they wouldn't necessarily come from a, what do you call it? Like an orphanage. It would more be like from just like a parent or parents who just can't handle it.
It could be from the biological parents that aren't capable of caring for those children, or it could be from another foster family that no longer can care for them for whatever reason.
Do orphanages do foster stuff? Do you know? Or is that more like adoption only?
I feel, I don't know. My guess would be it's mostly adoption.
Yeah.
But I think that when people are in transition from one foster home to another, I would argue that they probably go to I don't think they call them orphanages anymore, but yes, I think they would go to like a child care, center.
Yeah. So since you're not like involving yourself in the political landscape at all, are you going to vote still, or are you just kind of like, I don't
I vote. I just am not an educated voter.
Yeah.
Which is fine with me.
Yeah, teach their own. I mean, I've never even voted, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think I might vote this next election, but we'll see. I'm just gonna wait. I try to watch like some of the debates, and if I get bored on YouTube, I'll watch like political videos sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just have a hard time like finding a candidate that I really want to vote for. So if I don't really want to vote for somebody, then I'd rather not like just vote for someone just because.
If I feel strongly against somebody,
That's
I will
a good
vote.
reason to vote. Yeah.
I will vote for somebody else.
Yeah. No, there's all kinds of reasons to vote. I just always wanted to be like, I love this candidate and I want to vote for him or her. But
maybe one day you'll get the opportunity.
Yeah, hopefully. That would be nice. So today's your day off, sort of?
I would never, fit from working, yes. But, a lot of times I'll log in for a few hours on the weekend too.
Log into like your...
Sorry, I will pull up my computer and I will do work from my home.
Okay. Do you have to actually log into something to do that?
Log into like my Windows account on my computer.
Is that related? Like, does GE have like a cloud, like login to their base? You know what I mean?
Well, okay, so cloud is a dangerous term to say because we definitely have clouds, but we have clouds of data so I don't think that's what you mentioned.
I guess I just meant like a website that like employees or
we have secure sign-ons. Mm-hmm. So my computer, because I work with intellectual property classified data, and because I am a part of the secure network, if somebody were to breach my system, even if I personally might not be working with super secret top, clearance data, breaching into the system and the firewall of my computer might, allow a hacker to access something else. And I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in how they do that, but that's why all GE employees have a secure sign-on process, because we have incredibly controlled security parameters to our network, because we have very classified programs that we work on, as well as intellectual property.
You were about to work at a cheese factory? And then you that was in Cleveland?
Yes.
Were you looking forward to working there at all?
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't have considered leaving GE if I wasn't excited about the opportunity in front of me.
What made you decide not to?
And it's a little bit of a personal... I'm hesitant to share personal life stories publicly because I'm a very personal person.
Like private?
Not necessarily private, but I like to choose who I want to be vulnerable with. And the public is not that. But I will say that I realized that I needed to do some soul searching internally on where my true value proposition is in terms of what gives me happiness and satisfaction at a, individual core level in my employment. And I evaluated that for myself and realized that I was making the wrong decision at the wrong time, which was a really healthy exercise for me to go through. And
was it a hard decision, but
yeah.
healthy ultimately? Mm-hmm. If you want to, I'm just sorry.
Sure, no, of course.
So anyway, as you're saying, did it, you mentioned that it was like what was good for you work-wise, but did you feel like there were external factors too, like outside of just like career-oriented reasons? Was it like,
can you expand on that question?
I guess like things unrelated to work, like as far as I mean, if I don't want to be too specific because you said you don't want to be like too specific about some things, but I was thinking like with dad, like if that was part of the decision making process. For you.
Yes and no. I mean, the number one reason I'm here in Cincinnati is 100% dad. I would tell you with absolute confidence, if he did not have Alzheimer's, I would not be in Cincinnati right now. Mm-hmm. I would have been gone a couple years ago.
I probably wouldn't be. I don't know. I might be, but
I think you would be.
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
I would bet money.
Yeah?
Yeah. But
you might be right. I mean, I think there's a good chance that's true, but maybe not. I don't know. I like other places a lot too.
I don't have an issue with Cincinnati, but it is definitely not what I would say. I wouldn't describe it as my home.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I liked traveling a lot. I long to travel like all the time. So, but I kind of like being like based here. I think ultimately I'll probably keep this place for a long time and travel. I want to get like a travel van or something.
Okay, yeah.
And you know how people like rehab vans and they have like a little living space in them. And then
that's
maybe
like a thing now too.
Yeah, van life. I had a guy on, it was like the third episode, and he and his fiance sold like all of their unnecessary possessions, and then they bought, he got rid of his car, traded it in for a Mercedes Sprinter van, and then they're like rehabbing it, and they're gonna spend 2 years on the road, like not.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, but I think it'll probably be a really memorable experience.
Oh my gosh, yeah, a huge experience.
Yeah, he's all into like rock climbing and snowboarding and all that stuff.
All that jazz.
Yeah, it'll probably be a lot of fun for them. I don't know exactly how they're gonna make money, but I guess he's figuring that out.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you said that dad was like he's like the reason that you're here.
He's the number one reason that I'm here. I mean, when I considered leaving GE, I would have moved to Cleveland. So it would not have been a huge impact. But
still considerably farther though. Going from like, what are you now, like 30 minutes away to like,
I would say probably 20 minutes away, 25.
And you would have been like
3.5, 4 hours.
Is it that far? I thought it was like, yeah, you're right. Never mind.
No, I mean, I would have had no problem with that personally. But, you know, that it just was not the right time. And also, you know, Cleveland was not where I was aspiring to be. I would have loved to have been there to spend more time with our nieces and nephew. But even if I think about just the city of Cleveland, that is not what I would describe as my home either.
Do you like the city of Cleveland?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. You know, I don't go there. I would never go there probably again if our sister did not live there.
Yeah. I don't even think I've really been to downtown Cleveland. I might have been to it once, but
I've been once or twice, but never for like fun. That's not true. It's for different kinds of fun. I've been there, but never to go like out and experience the city.
Yeah. Were you there like with Adrienne and the kids?
Yeah.
Or something?
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, still fun, but it's
fun. It's a different kind of fun.
family fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where would you want to go? Like, I think
Seattle, without a question.
I was gonna say San Francisco.
No.
Have you been to San Francisco?
Yes.
Do you like it?
No.
Really? I've heard it's pretty nice there. It's really clean. And
don't get me wrong. It's not like it's like a crummy city. I just did not. It's hard to describe. I think there is a feeling that I get in my core gut of this. I enjoy being here, or I don't enjoy being here. You know, you can't just. Sometimes you can't quantify that because it is like an intrinsic feeling.
Yeah.
I liked San Francisco, but I didn't feel like it was me.
Well, that's why I say I don't feel like I would be in Cincinnati, because I always feel like I'm wrestling with liking Cincinnati. Like, it's not like I hate it or anything, but it's just like I don't feel. I feel like I'm trying to like train myself to be like, this is home, but I don't really always. I don't really feel like that most of the time. And I don't know if that has to do with just me needing to, like, if I am to stay here for a long time, just like spending that time and settling into it and becoming comfortable with it. But I still don't really feel like that comfortable with Cincinnati. So I don't know. I hope one day, like, I'm definitely not going to live here forever. So I think eventually I'll get a house somewhere, like maybe a little farther away.
Yeah.
But this is good for now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It works.
Yeah. Got the space for the business. So that helps. So do you have any travel plans coming up or anything like that?
Yeah, actually. So Monday. On Monday morning, I go to Miami, Florida for work. And then on Thursday morning, I am flying to Cuba. And I will be there until Sunday.
Have you been to Cuba before?
No.
Are you excited?
I am excited. I think it'll be a fun little trip.
I've heard they have all the like old school cars there. And it's just kind of like behind the times, but it's probably kind of cool for that reason.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that should be awesome. What all countries have you been to? Probably a lot.
I'll probably miss some. I've been to, well, a lot of places in the United States, Canada, Peru, Panama. I will be going to Cuba. I will be going to Colombia. Italy, Georgia, Greece, France, Hungary, Austria.
Jeez.
Germany.
You could scratch off a whole
Belgium.
scratch off map almost.
I feel like I'm missing Bahamas, Bermuda.
Those were the cruises.
Yeah. I'm probably missing a few, but
that's a lot though.
Those are the ones that I can think. Oh, Ireland, duh. Okay. And Amsterdam. I went to Amsterdam.
Do you think you're ever going to go? None of those countries were in the Middle East, were they? Or Georgia, I guess.
Georgia's not even in the Middle East.
Okay. Do you think you'll ever?
I went to the Czech Republic too. Okay. Forgot about that one. No. I didn't go to the Czech Republic. I went to Ukraine.
Okay. Do you think you'll ever go to the Middle East or?
Oh yeah, I really want to swim in the Dead Sea before the Dead Sea is no more.
Is that where you float? Mm-hmm. Because it's so thick with salt or something.
Yeah, I want to go to Jordan. Pretty badly, and I'd like to go to Egypt. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, eventually. I don't think that those are places I would feel comfortable going alone as a female, but eventually they will be on my list of places. The next big trip that I want to do, I'm going to Costa Rica next year for a little bit. I have Portugal on my list, probably to prioritize after Costa Rica. Mm-hmm. And if I do Portugal, I'll do Spain too. Mm-hmm. But I went to Mexico. I forgot that one too. But I really want to go to Bhutan.
Where's that?
It's in Asia.
Okay. Asia would be cool. I want to go to Asia.
And Bhutan is very expensive, but it is high on my list of places I would like to go. So I need to save. No, I have not been to Africa.
Do you have any intention or like
eventually, but it's not high on my list. I'd rather go to parts of Asia first. Mm-hmm. I am hopeful for work next year I can go to India. Mm-hmm. So if I go to India next year for work, I will potentially stay and do a little bit of like a vacation on top of that in India, or I will fly to Bhutan from India because it's very close comparatively.
If you ever want, I'm down to go to the Middle East. I can
Okay.
go with you if you ever want to go.
Yeah, it'll be multi years out at this point
That's
because
probably
Bhutan
good
is
for me because I'm like
Bhutan is number one. I really want to go to the Galapagos Islands
that'd
too,
be cool.
but that's also expensive. So Bhutan first, Galapagos next.
Yeah, I feel like the Galapagos would be really. Isn't that like really tropical?
Mm-hmm.
Just,
It's
like,
where
probably a beautiful
Darwin
place.
went to
Oh yeah.
do a lot of his like research on like species or evolution or birds or something like that.
Yeah. Do you think you'll see like the pyramids if you go to Egypt?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Kinda
That
have
would be
to.
the only reason I would say I would go to Egypt.
Yeah. Have you seen any of the wonders of the world aside from like Niagara Falls? Isn't
Yeah,
Niagara Falls
I mean
one of
Machu Picchu I think is a wonder of the world.
them? Is it? Niagara Falls is one, right?
I don't know. It's been a
think it
really
is.
long time since I learned that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like maybe I've seen another one. I just don't remember what they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember.
It'd be kind of cool to. What's that thing like Mecca or whatever? That big box where like people go on like a religious, like
In like Jerusalem?
I guess yeah,
Or
like they go and they
Bethlehem,
like
maybe?
circle around it. You know?
Yeah.
It's like a religious thing. I mean, I'm not like that.
I don't
religion,
know.
But
I
it
know
would just
in
be-
general I know what you're talking about. Like I think Bethlehem was like I don't it's called
It
something
might be
different now.
Jerusalem.
I believe, but
Probably is.
yeah.
That would make sense.
I
Since-
believe it is Jerusalem.
Yeah.
But
What about Israel? Would you ever want to go to Israel?
I think it depends on political climate.
Yeah, definitely. If it was good, would you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I would be curious about the Middle East a lot, but it is a
Kinda scary.
very scary place to go right now.
Yeah.
Depending on the part of Israel you'd be going to.
Mhm.
Or not Israel,
The Middle
depending on
East.
the part of the Middle East that you'd be going to.
Yeah. 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 Well, I'm gonna pull a dad. Let me see what time it is.
Yeah.
Let me make sure this is I'm gonna pull a dad and get sentimental for a second.
Okay.
Just want to say that I think you are an inspiration, and I really admire everything that you're doing with work and with your life, and I think it's something to look up to, and I think it's really cool that you're doing that, and it's an inspiration to me. So
I appreciate you saying that.
you're welcome. Yeah, thanks for doing you, because it's pretty cool. to
I'm
be your
not
brother.
trying.
I know you're just doing you.
I
I'm
just am.
Yeah, no, it's cool though. I think it's really inspiring, and hopefully some people will watch this and they'll be inspired by it.
Yeah. Thanks for asking me. It's a nice compliment.
Too. Yeah. Really appreciate you coming on. I guess we're gonna wrap up because the band is coming over at 2:30.
Sure, of course.
But yeah, I just want to say thanks for doing this. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to go to like the Middle East or something, let me know.
Yeah, in like 2025,
Sure.
it's on.
Okay. Yeah, this was a lot of fun though. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna cut everything.
Okay.